Upon examining brain tissue, scientists discovered that microplastics were present in, prepare yourself, 100% of the individuals studied. Every single person had microplastics lodged within their brain. Consider this. Each of us has an intricate network of blood vessels, spanning roughly 60,000 miles, woven throughout our bodies. Whenever we ingest something like plastic, those very channels can transport those particles directly to our organs. Microplastics within the brain are also capable of inducing oxidative stress. This form of cellular strain can actually harm your DNA. Genetic and neurological damage? Certainly not a positive outcome. Is there anything we might consume alongside our meals that could help block microplastics from entering our bloodstream? The answer is a definitive yes. And would you like to know what that substance is? It's something you ought to be eating regardless. It is music for our applause. Now, for a great many years, we have understood that microplastics appear in our food and water systems. These are minuscule plastic fragments measuring less than 5 millimeters, smaller than a single grain of rice, that essentially break down from the plastics we use to encase nearly everything. These microplastic particles have now permeated our oceans. They originate from food packaging, discarded bottles, the containers holding our drinks, and cling film, that material you drape over leftovers before refrigerating them to shield food from air. They come from tea bags and countless other sources. Even the tires we drive on every day rank among the largest contributors of microplastics. Particles wear off, become airborne, and we inhale them. Since microplastics contaminate our food supply, whenever we consume plastic, those tiny particles enter our bloodstream. As you may know, I specialize in vascular health, and I've emphasized this point repeatedly. Our bodies contain about 60,000 miles of blood vessels. These are the highways and pathways that deliver the oxygen we breathe and the nutrients we eat to each and every cell and organ. When we ingest something like plastic, these channels can actually ferry those plastic bits straight to our internal organs. Until recently, we didn't fully grasp that these particles could build up inside us, but now we know for certain that accumulation occurs. Researchers have identified microplastics within the human brain. This pioneering study was conducted by the University of New Mexico School of Medicine. Scientists examined brain tissue from deceased individuals who had undergone autopsies. These subjects ranged in age from 51 to 84, meaning they had spent decades, essentially half or even their entire lifespans, in an environment saturated with plastics. They belonged to a generation where plastic was utterly ubiquitous. Practically everything they ate or handled was made of or wrapped in plastic. By analyzing this brain tissue with a specialized method known as pyrolysis gas chromatography mass spectrometry, don't worry about the technical name, it's simply a precise analytical technique, they evaluated 69 samples taken from multiple brain regions. Picture the human brain like a football. It has frontal lobes at the front, temporal lobes on the sides, the cerebellum situated beneath, and the brainstem at its base. Samples were collected from various areas, totaling 68 distinct specimens. Their findings were striking. In these older individuals, microplastics were present in, once again, 100% of the brains examined. Every person had plastic particles in their brain tissue. Moreover, in 26 out of the 69 brain samples, roughly 37%, plastic was detected across different regions scattered throughout the brain. In other words, it wasn't confined to one area, it was dispersed widely. Recall those blood vessel highways. They deliver these minute plastic particles, dispersing them across every part of your brain where they can ultimately become embedded. So what types of plastic were identified? You've likely heard of some. They found polyvinyl chloride, or PVC. Think of PVC pipes used in plumbing and drains. PVC plastic is also present in cling wrap, the plastic film you use to cover food dishes. Interestingly, it's also found in certain restaurant tablecloths. Those coated vinyl tablecloths often contain PVC. That material was found scattered throughout brain tissue. They also discovered polyethylene. Where is polyethylene commonly found? I had to research this myself. It's in plastic wrap, cling film again, plastic bottles like water or soda bottles, which for health reasons you really shouldn't be drinking from, as well as cereal box liners, Open a cereal box, and you'll find a plastic bag inside. It's in juice containers and even milk cartons. Remember peering inside an empty milk carton as a kid? That interior lining is polyethylene. And yes, it too was found dispersed throughout the brain. One more plastic was detected, polyethylene terephthalate, or PET. Where do you encounter PT? In water bottles, ketchup bottles, salad dressing containers, virtually any plastic bottle at the grocery store. It's even present in cooking oil. Why? Because when you purchase oil in a plastic container, the oil can leach plastic molecules, dissolving them right into the liquid. You then cook with that oil and consume it. So we continually interact with plastic containers that shed particles into our bodies, and now we know those particles can reach the brain. We face these plastic sources daily. Why should we be concerned about plastics accumulating in the brain? We don't yet have all the answers. This remains an active area of research, but we know enough to exercise caution. Here's why. Plastic particles may trigger neuroinflammation, which simply means inflammation around nerve cells. When neuroinflammation occurs in your brain, it's problematic because your brain is densely packed with neurons. Inflammation impairs proper brain function, and that can translate into cognitive issues and impairment. As we all age, maintaining sharp cognitive function and good brain health is a major priority. Neuroinflammation undermines that. Microplastics in the brain can also provoke oxidative stress, a type of cellular strain that can damage your DNA. Genetic damage combined with brain injury is obviously undesirable. We also suspect that long-term microplastic accumulation may contribute to neurological dysfunction. Consider all the age-related neurological conditions: Parkinson's, various forms of dementia, memory issues, and the neuropsychiatric challenges we see in older adults. What role might decades of accumulated microplastics in the brain play? Reflect on this. When plastics were first developed in the mid-20th century, they were hailed as a miracle: durable, colorful, convenient, and strong. No one initially imagined they could shed into our food. Decades later, we've grown wiser. I'm not criticizing that remarkable technological advancement from 70 years ago, but today we know better. Some researchers theorize that the chronic brain inflammation linked to microplastics could even be associated with diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I probably don't need to elaborate further. Plastic simply does not belong in our brains. When plastic is present in the brain, it risks causing inflammation, neuroinflammation. And we know that dementias, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and vascular dementias, are all correlated with brain inflammation. Again, we don't have complete answers. More research is necessary and already underway. But having plastic accumulate anywhere in your body, especially your brain, is something nobody wants. So what practical steps can you take to lower your exposure risk? You can't avoid it entirely, but you can reduce it. First, try to avoid ultra-processed foods, as they are frequently packaged in plastic bags or wrappers. Even canned goods often have a plastic lining to prevent the metal from touching the contents and imparting a metallic taste. That plastic can flake or dissolve into the food you eat. Also, microplastics are even found on fruits and vegetables. What can you do? What I do and recommend is washing your produce thoroughly. When you bring home healthy plant-based foods from the produce section, wash them under cold running water for at least 60 seconds. In my home, I use a large metal mixing bowl, deep and wide, place the fruits and vegetables inside, fill it with water, and let the water run. Don't overload the bowl. Ensure water can circulate and rinse everything. You'll be amazed at the dirt that comes off. This dirt could be from the farm, the shipping containers, transit in trucks or planes, the back rooms of grocery stores, or even farmers' markets. A good 60-second rinse under cold running water removes most contaminants. According to USDA guidelines, this also helps wash away bacteria. Since most foods have had some contact with plastic somewhere along the journey from field to plate, this is your chance to clean them. Additionally, avoid storing or purchasing food in plastic. Skip those thin plastic bags in the produce section. Instead, invest in reusable cloth bags you can bring back each time. This is more sustainable and environmentally friendly than continually buying and discarding plastic, which ends up polluting the planet and, as we now know, potentially winding up in your body. A cloth bag is better for the earth and for you. Another tip, ditch plastic food storage containers. I grew up with them. My mother loved their convenience, affordability, lightness, strength, and stackability. That was then. Now we understand that plastic storage containers can shed plastic into food. If you use them, note that the lid is generally okay if it doesn't touch the food. So opt for glass bowls like Pyrex or stainless steel containers, and a plastic top is fine as long as it isn't in direct contact with the food. For thin-skinned produce like apples or cucumbers, use a soft brush, not plastic, but perhaps one with natural bristles or bamboo. Gently scrub them under running water, then dry with a clean cotton towel. Avoid synthetic microfiber cloths. These are practices we didn't always consider, but in earlier generations, people often dried items with cloth towels and washed their food thoroughly, all without relying on plastic storage. Realistically, it's impossible to avoid all microplastics because we even breathe them in. Remember, tire wear from roads is a major source. As tires roll, they shed plastic dust into the air we inhale, but every conscious step you take, mindful purchasing, thorough washing, proper storage, and using non-plastic cookware, choose wood or metal spatulas instead of plastic, reduces your exposure. Over time, this reduction can make a meaningful difference. Now let's discuss some fascinating discoveries. As research on microplastics advances, we're also exploring ways to mitigate their effects. Scientists have investigated how to handle microplastics already in our food. Since we can't eliminate them entirely, is there something we can eat alongside our meals that helps prevent microplastics from entering our bloodstream? The answer is yes. And do you know what that something is? It's a substance you should be consuming anyway: dietary fiber. Dietary fiber benefits us in several ways. First, it promotes regular bowel movements. Second, and more importantly, it nourishes our beneficial gut bacteria. A healthy gut is crucial. When these bacteria are well fed, they release compounds called short-chain fatty acids into our bloodstream. These acids reduce inflammation, enhance brain health, improve metabolism, and speed up healing. So dietary fiber is already essential. But here's another reason. Emerging research from Hainan University in China indicates that adequate dietary fiber can help flush out microplastics. That's pretty remarkable. So, having outlined the problem, here is a potential solution. Dietary fiber can assist your body in dealing with microplastics through three primary mechanisms. First, fiber consumed with a meal can bind to microplastics already in your gut. As you chew and digest, fiber attaches to plastic particles, preventing their absorption into your bloodstream. Second, dietary fiber strengthens your gut lining. Think of your digestive tract as a lengthy tube, like a garden hose, roughly 40 feet from mouth to anus. This lining needs to be robust. If it weakens, small openings can form, allowing contents to leak out, a condition often called leaky gut, which is more common than previously recognized. As a physician, I can attest that this wasn't emphasized in medical training, but we now understand it's quite prevalent. Dietary fiber helps fortify and tighten that lining, reducing gut permeability. This means any microplastics in your gut are less likely to seep through. Instead, fiber binds them and keeps them moving through your system until they're excreted. Third, fiber feeds your gut bacteria, which in turn help your body counteract any plastics that do enter your bloodstream. As mentioned, plastics can provoke inflammation. Well-nourished gut bacteria, fueled by dietary fiber, produce anti-inflammatory compounds that help mitigate that inflammation. So fiber blocks, removes, and protects against microplastics, a compelling reason to consume more of it. Here are some practical tips from me on protecting yourself against microplastics based on what we've covered. First, eat a diet rich in fiber. Fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, avocados, legumes, white beans, black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils, all are excellent fiber sources. Whole grains offer many benefits, and fiber is a key one. Now we know they can also help guard against microplastic harm. Nuts and seeds, walnuts, pecans, almonds, pistachios, macadamias, Brazil nuts, provide dietary fiber along with other health advantages. Soluble fiber found in oats, flax seeds, lentils, apples, day-old refrigerated rice, and chilled baked potatoes, which converts starch into resistant starch that feeds gut bacteria, is particularly effective at binding toxins, including microplastics. Another tip, stay well hydrated. Our bodies are 50–70% water. Proper hydration is vital. Fiber works best when you're adequately hydrated because fluids keep everything moving smoothly, both in your digestive tract and your bloodstream. Consider using a water filter to ensure your drinking water is clean. When it comes to fiber, aim to get it from a variety of whole foods. Your gut bacteria thrive on diversity, so mix up your sources. You can take a fiber supplement, but a varied diet is preferable. Diverse foods support a healthy gut microbiome, which lowers systemic inflammation, helping counteract any inflammation microplastics might cause. Now let's shift from microplastics to heavy metals. What are heavy metals? Lead, cadmium, mercury, arsenic. Do any of these sound healthful? Certainly not. These elements occur naturally in the Earth's crust. Our planet's core contains various metals and minerals, including heavy metals. However, we want to minimize the amount that enters our bodies from the environment. That means reducing heavy metals in food and drinking water. Pay attention to consumer research that tests for heavy metals in food and take steps to lower your exposure. How do heavy metals get into drinking water? They can leach from rocks and soil, from old lead pipes in your home, from industrial waste, or from chemical fertilizers that run off into waterways and eventually reservoirs. While most municipal water systems have filtration and conduct periodic testing, heavy metals can still be present. Here's a simple and intriguing solution. A cup of tea can help bind heavy metals in water. Research from Northwestern University demonstrates that tea leaves, the dried leaves from the tea bush, can filter out heavy metals like lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury. Here's how it works. When you brew tea, you boil water. That water, straight from your tap, unless tested, might contain trace heavy metals from pipes, reservoirs, or soil. As you steep tea leaves, whether loose leaf, powdered, or in a bag, the leaves exhibit a property called biosorbency. Essentially, they absorb and bind metal ions through a process called adsorption. The tea leaves attract and hold on to heavy metals, pulling them out of the water. The Northwestern researchers tested various teas, black, green, oolong, chamomile, and rooibos, a red herbal tea from South Africa. They examined different forms, powdered, loose leaf, and bagged tea. The experiment involved boiling water, steeping the tea, and then analyzing the liquid and the tea leaves themselves. Their findings were fascinating. Finely ground black tea, like that in English breakfast tea, exhibited the strongest heavy metal binding capacity. Black tea, such as Earl Grey or Irish breakfast, finely ground, was most effective at extracting heavy metals from water. Also effective were tea bags made from cellulose, a plant-based fiber. Importantly, many commercial tea bags are coated with nylon or sprayed with plastic to strengthen them, which can leach microplastics, exactly what we want to avoid. Cellulose-based bags, however, bind heavy metals without releasing microplastics. The study also found that longer steeping times removed more heavy metals. How can you apply this practically? Most people steep tea for 5 to 7 minutes for a robust brew. But to maximize heavy metal removal, you could steep tea longer, even overnight in the refrigerator, like making iced tea. You can dilute it later if desired. The tea leaves act as a natural filter. So, to help detoxify your water while drinking tea, choose black tea in a cellulose-based bag. Or better yet, use loose leaf or powdered tea. Let's recap everything we've discussed. First, microplastics. Avoid them because they infiltrate our bodies and have now been found in human brains. Minimize exposure by avoiding plastic containers, bags, bottles, cooking utensils, plates, and cups. Think of those ubiquitous red plastic cups at parties or games. Increase your fiber intake to help flush out microplastics that inevitably enter your system. You can't avoid them completely, but you can reduce the risk. Regarding heavy metals, cadmium, lead, arsenic, mercury in water, consider steeping tea. Drinking tea delivers beneficial polyphenols that reduce inflammation, boost metabolism, inhibit cancer blood supply, and support brain and gut health. Now we have an additional reason. Steeping black tea, powdered, loose leaf, or in a cellulose bag, can bind and remove heavy metals from your water. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with someone you know and encourage them to subscribe so we can spread this practical health information far and wide. These are simple, actionable steps we can all take. That's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Dr. Adname signing off. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love this one. Check it out.